So in this video, if you're a personal trainer, I'm going to show you how you can take your expertise from the gym floor and actually create what I call a leveraged lifestyle business and use your expertise in a more leveraged way to make your life a whole lot better. Like, I know how it is, right? You get your qualification. The gym floor is where you learn your craft, you gain experience, you build your confidence, you get some client results. But if you really want that freedom in your life as well and have the best of both worlds, then this is what you need to be doing. So let's have a look at this, right? Right now you're here, right? You're a personal trainer, all your income is from sessions. You got to worry about cancellations, not making money when you're not on the gym floor. And basically what you're doing is you're seen as a commodity. You don't really have a unique offer because in the local market, you just kind of work with anyone. There's no compounding growth. It's just a case of, okay, you have this many hours in the day, in the week. How can you fill that up as much as possible? And I've been there myself, and I went through that sort of grind phase. And, I was excited at first, but then it gets to the point where you start to feel a bit capped. You start to reach that ceiling. And yeah, it's like, okay, now it's like, okay, what's the cost here? Maybe I might make, $100 for a session, but then, now I'm eating into my free time, I'm eating into my life, I'm eating into the stuff that I actually want to be doing. So you're just selling your time, and it's not the best way of going about it. So naturally, the first shift tends to be, the online coach. So this is where things have to change a little bit, okay? Because the online game is not the same as the local market. And people get caught up in the PT mindset and they try and bring that online and then they wonder why it doesn't work out. So you need to have a niche offer and some premium position, aka a bit of a competitive advantage. Like, you need a clear value proposition as to why someone would pick you over someone else. Because people have the luxury of choice when it comes to online. That's something you got to remember. You've probably heard the saying the market's saturated, which it is, but there's ways of going about it. And most online coaches are very generic and they all look the same, right? I've kind of coined the term coach clone because it's so common. People don't really understand positioning, how to leverage the market in their favor. So by doing this, what you then have the ability to do is increase your prices because the supply is now lower and the demand for your unique thing is higher. At this stage, you're a bit of a solo operator, but you have more time now. Okay, so when you're a personal trainer, you're a solo operator, but by the time you get to about 5K a month, you start to lose your freedom a bit. When you get to online, you can comfortably handle, 10 to 20K of revenue, with your niche offer, your prices are raised. Now that the model is more leveraged, you don't have to be there holding someone's hand. So as a solo operator, you can comfortably make 10 to 20K per month, no problem, no need to hire anyone, and life is pretty good. So your capacity for clients has now gone up by 2 to 3 times. You're no longer trapped on the gym floor, right? You have a bit of freedom. You can control your schedule a bit better. You can bulk action things you need to do early in the day so that then you can do whatever you want later. So really, if you got up early, you smashed out content or you did all your client check-ins and whatnot, you could, by lunchtime, you could potentially have the day to yourself. So this is what I mean by leveraging, your experience in a way that actually benefits your life, right? And that's why I call it a lifestyle business. So you're creating content that attracts dream clients. Okay, you're no longer handling inbound inquiries from a range of different people. You now have the lever and the ability to turn a dial and to control the market and who sees you. Now, does it happen straight away? No. You have to give the algorithm a bit of time to learn about who you're trying to target. But this is the great thing about having a niche offer, is because now your messaging and what you're actually putting out there to people is very dialed in, right? You're putting out the same message, you're talking about the same desires, the same problems, all this sort of stuff. And it creates a lot of clarity not only for you, but for the people who you're trying to target, and also for the market and the algorithm. Okay. So after a while of posting, all of a sudden the right people are going to come in front of you. Okay. And your income is now based on value, not time. And really what ends up happening at the sort of 10 to 20K per month mark is systems then start to become your bottleneck, because you're still this, you're not truly operating like a proper business owner yet. You're still in that sort of coach mindset. You're wearing all the hats in the business. You're making all the content. You're handling client delivery. You're doing all the sales. You're doing all the, chatting to people in the DMs. You're doing all the admin and everything like this. So you get to a point where, because you should be running a high ticket offer if you've got a niche offer with premium positioning. And what that does is it gives you cash flow, right? It gives you high profits, cash flow up front. And then that allows you to then, invest in the business. It opens doors for you. Like in terms of, what route you want to go down. Do you want to, invest in more software to automate things? Do you want to hire someone? Do you want to invest in a mentorship to handle certain bottlenecks that, because you don't know what you don't know. So what is a smart move is, leveraging the data and the experience other people have who are ahead of you, to handle bottlenecks and then to take you to that next level. So when you kind of get into the rhythm of this, all of a sudden, you're getting better systems in place, you're building more leverage, and you're just sort of lengthening the runway now as to what's even possible, because it's a compounding machine online. So what you do in month 1 will be the same as what you do in month 2, roughly, but the output of the systems you have in place will be amplified, right? So the longer you keep the machine running, the more output will be generated. So that's when it becomes possible to scale, right, to this level. So when you've pulled back your time a little bit, now you start to move into this territory. But you can't get to this territory without systems, without leverage, without actually operating like a true business owner. So you're probably doing, 5 clients per week, definitely high ticket packages by this point. You've probably got an Ascension offer as well to generate more revenue on the back end. You've got a scalable service delivery. Okay. So whether you've got 20 clients or 30 clients, the difference in time it takes you to fulfill isn't a whole lot different. You've got systemized operations. Okay. You've got SOPs, playbooks, you've got your whole engine mapped out, right? How you acquire clients, how you fulfill clients. You've got a predictable and consistent lead flow, and you now operate like a business owner. And when this happens, kind of like sky's the limit. Very cash flow heavy, making leverage decisions, thinking more long-term and strategic, only doing the tasks you love. So let's say you don't like being in the DMs for 4 hours a day. Well, you've hired someone to do that now. Maybe you've brought on a coach, right, to help you keep the quality of your program high, make sure everyone has the right accountability without you being stuck in the weeds, so that you can take a step back and think, okay, what are actually the things that are going to drive business growth, as opposed to you just being in the day-to-day operations. You've got a team of A players, you're happy, team is happy, and clients are happy. So what a lot of personal trainers don't realize is, by you staying at this level, like if you truly love helping people and making an impact, and it's not just about money, well, it kind of is. Because you have to get to this level if you really want to make an impact in the market and actually help people at scale. It's directly correlated, right? You're not just going to help people for free because, one, you value your time. You've probably got a family to provide for, all this sort of stuff. But not only that, that people that like just want a cheap fix, they don't follow through, they don't get results. So by you actually building a scalable business, right, with a high ticket service, high profit margins, not only are you giving yourself the resources to deploy to keep scaling the business and to keep impacting more people, but your clients are more emotionally invested and they're getting their money's worth because they've got a fire under their ass. So you've got great clients, you've got a happy team because you've got lots of cash flow, and you're happy because you've got the freedom to do whatever you want, right? Not everyone wants to get to this level. Not everyone wants to keep climbing to 100, 200K per month, but you've got options, and that's really what freedom is all about. Yeah. So let's have a look at the engine, right, that actually can produce this. So if you're kind of at this stage, then this is the engine I would suggest you start focusing on. So this is the FitPro Scale operating system engine. So here's how it works. I call this an ecosystem, and the ecosystem is being designed in a specific way. Everything has a purpose and is there for a reason. So ultimately, what you're trying to do online is generate traffic, okay? You're kind of like a glorified content creator. Yes, you can run ads, which can automate some of the lead flow eventually. But the mistake with ads that I see a lot of people make is they try and jump into ads way before they even have product market fit, before they've even got proven concept, before they've even made 10 to 20K in a short space of time. You kind of have to get to that level first, because that's the fire that you're pouring the fuel onto. And in this analogy, the fuel is ads. Ads only amplify what is already working. So if you just try and dump money into ads, you're going to be very, very disappointed, unfortunately. So that leaves us to content, right? Primarily short form content, because it has the best probability of getting views. But the thing is, it's not about going viral, right? This is where a lot of people go wrong, is they think they have to go viral to make a lot of money online. And this couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, a lot of my clients, they only have like 2 to 3K followers. They do 10K months. However, if we do get a lot of followers, but we're attracting the right people, this is like the perfect balance. This is where you've cracked the code. And we have a very systematic way of doing this. We have a testing process where we use our brand foundations. We create content based on winning concepts in the market. We put our spin on it with our offer, make it relatable to the ICP who we're trying to target. And then what this does is, we're using winning concepts, but it's targeting the right people. And then all of a sudden, for example, like my client James, who went from 5K to 65K followers in just a few months, it then means you have the right people in your audience and you don't really have to worry about, leads ever again. So if we imagine that he's gone through this testing process, to generate those followers through his short form content, now he has a ecosystem of 65,000 people. Well, that's a lie, actually. It was 65,000 in the first 4 months, but he's on like 140K now. Like, he's rode the wave. The wave's just kept going because he's kept doubling down on what's working. So now he has this ecosystem, right, that looks like this, with 65,000 people in. And this engine is just running nonstop and nurturing those people. What you'll notice is no one leaves until they book a call or they become a client. And what we're doing is we're driving people to long form content. This is the secret no one fucking talks about it, right? Not that I'm complaining, because it works really well for me and my clients. But what we're trying to do is reduce the time it takes to convert a stranger into a client by as much as humanly possible, right? Our content is specifically designed to handle all the psychological triggers that would make someone want to buy. Okay, we're showing authority, we're educating them, we're showing social proof from other clients, we're motivating them, we're giving them a kick up the ass, we're handling limiting beliefs and objections before they even talk to us. All this stuff, right? We're showing connection content. We're not just being a robot. We're showing them into our lives. We're making them resonate with us. All these little psychological triggers are just part of the engine, right? Which just runs nonstop. and we're using variety in our content to attack from different angles. But most importantly, like, this generates the views, but what we're really trying to do here, okay, first is get followers, okay? But then what we're trying to do is actually push them to YouTube, all right? So new follower comes in, they'll continue to watch this content, but we'll be nurturing them with stories, all right? Motivational insights, showing work ethic, lifestyle, behind the scenes, client wins, just getting your face out there. Because if we think about the 7-hour rule, which is, how many touch points / times someone has to see you before they're actually in a place where they trust you enough to buy your thing, is that we have to have a level of volume here. But the trick is using volume, right, that's easy to produce, right? We don't need fancy reels with like 20 different cuts and like 20 different scenes and all this fancy editing and stuff. In fact, that's just going to slow you down. It looks less authentic. And what you really just need is like maybe 3 different video styles that you find very easy to make, that you can just pump out nonstop. So we're using stories, right? Just very easy to get our face in front of them. We're using call to actions, and we're also using a warm DM strategy as well. So every new follower that comes in, we are systematically identifying hidden buyers, right? Because you as a coach have to be proactive. You can't rely on people to just reach out to you, because 80% of, like, if we take like a group of people who could be a good client and who want to make the transformation, probably only about 10 to 15% of them will actually be proactive and reach out to you. However, by you using this warm DM strategy, you are being proactive and you're qualifying everyone. So you'll know exactly who could be, who's really warm, who's really interested, who's sort of interested, and who's not interested, right? And then by following up with these people, building relationships, that's how you build this pipeline of like people. And after a few months, this pipeline is going to be full of potential clients who you just need to work on. We're sending them free resources. They're going to book a call because you've given goodwill up front. But there's a specific way of going about this, okay? You've got to build the gap. Like, the call is not where you just like, you don't just pitch the call as if like you're trying to sell them something. It's about finding the gap of like where they currently are, where it is they're trying to get to, and what they're struggling with. How long have they been trying to do it for? Okay. So you know what they're struggling with, you know how long they've been trying to do it for, and that's the gap. Now you can say, look, man, if you want, we can hop on a call. I'll walk you through exactly how to fix X using our system. So now they have a value proposition and a reason to get on the call that isn't being sold to. Very important. But the big play is promoting your new YouTube videos, having your VSL in your bio, and just pushing all these profile visitors and people who follow you. They're all getting pushed to YouTube, where they're going to be watching 20 to 30-minute videos at a time. And you're just going to get you're going to turn strangers into clients 10 times quicker. I promise you. It's a cheat code. And then when people book, we have a very good pre-call nurturing sequence that makes show rates 90%. And when we get clients on board, we have the client delivery mechanisms and we feed that back in. So that's kind of what creates what I call the social proof snowball effect. So that's kind of how it looks, right? And the thing is, this is a super simple diagram of what it actually takes. Like, within each thing, there's like, 5 subsystems and a whole science behind it. But by you optimizing each thing, obviously first, right, when you're over here, you go into full-time coaching, you start doing a lot of this stuff. You're the one wearing all the hats. You're not following any sort of playbook or standard operating procedure. You're just getting in the trenches and you're doing it. But over time, you start to systemize things. You start to iterate, right, where things are maybe not working as well as they should be. And then when you finally crack the code like let's say your response rate and your lead to call booked ratio or percentage is good, and you have this all dialed in and documented, that's when you can then send it, you can hire someone to do it for you. And then this is how you get more leverage to then keep scaling. So yeah, if this kind of resonates, you want to dive into this more detail, maybe apply it to your situation personally on a quick call, just tap the link in the description, book a call, and we'll tailor this to your situation, give you a custom roadmap to get to this point here. So yeah, until next time, guys, see you later.